Okay guys, welcome back. Today we're going to take a look how you can simply improve your top rock without learning any new steps. So I suggest as a beginner or in general that try to learn one new step every practice. So you don't have to learn 10 new steps, just one is enough. But because you practice a couple of times a week or maybe even once a week, it still adds up. In over time you get more and more and more steps. So try to learn one new step that you actually can use. So it isn't enough that you know the step, you also have to be able to use it in your dance, right? So by simply doing that, you add up the total number of steps. But today we're going to take a look at a different approach to this. It's how you can use the steps that you already have, but use them more effectively. Now, I did the tutorial on the side step, and there I actually glossed over this same principle that you can actually simply do the same step, but in different directions. By doing that, as you can see, I basically you get all these variations for free, but the same can be done with every step you do, and you can do them also in many ways. So like you can do the simple cross step really salsa-like or insanely big, right? So there's a lot of variations to be done in the simple basics if you just do them a little differently. And the arms really also is a very good one to play around with, right? So when you do, normally when I teach, for instance, and a lot of b-boys do this, just watch some battles, you see them do it. They all do this swing or this stab with the arms, like they stab or they swing. This is not wrong because it looks good, but the problem is that if you take away the legs, everything is sort of the same, right? So it's very good to play around with these arms, maybe do a little bit crazy. So simply already playing around with this, you get a lot more variation, which makes it more interesting to see, especially in the cipher, right? In a battle, it's only 2 rounds, but in a cipher, you maybe jump in 10 times, and you want to not do the same top rock every time. But there's a couple of more things you can do, and one of these is move around. So you don't have to stay in one spot. You do this when there's no room, of course, you stay at the same spot, right? But actually, when I still have the room, run to the side, move to the back, right? So like that, you can play around with room and really make sure that every part of the floor is used when you dance. It's more interesting that way. Also, when you normally, like in a battle, I always suggest facing the opponent. There's no point in, dancing with your back to the opponent. And, because b-boys sometimes have all these little disses, they're gonna dish you behind your back because your back is towards them, right? So in a battle, of course, you want to face forward. But in the cipher, you don't have to at all. So really, a huge part of breaking is jamming. It's not just only battle, right? It's also jamming with your friends. And like if you go to the jam, you also jam with people. So really, it's not bad to try to, make sure you can actually rotate in your top rock and use every side. Dance that way, dance that way, dance that way, etc. So that way you can really combine, and then it's simply a matter of using the steps you have. So if you have let's say you have 4 variations, I think you can do like maybe 10 different dances, right? Simply you can do the side step. Let's say you can only do this 1, 2, 3, 4 like that. And you can do the side step, right? And you can do the Indian step like this, right? And you can do the simple kick step. I think those are very basic, but simply playing around with these. If you watch this tutorial on side step, you see how I play with this. If you watch the first tutorial I did about top rock, you see how you can play with that cross step. And it's not about doing it that way, it's about doing it a little bit your own way, but you can really do a lot of variations. Now, one thing that I have to say is that to dance good, you need a mirror. To dance good, you need a camera. When you always dance with the mirror and the mirror goes away, it's sometimes a little bit weird, but basically you really have to spot how you dance and how it looks. Sometimes the feeling is not enough, like there are people who are very musical and they have a very good sense of how to move and dance. And when they dance, it looks good, right? But a lot of people actually not like that. And that's just the reality, but it's not like you cannot do it. Just work at it like normal, like a move. If you think, okay, I'm gonna go in and I can already do the flare. That doesn't work that way. You have to practice on it. But the same is for the top rock. When you practice on your top rock, it gets better over time. Just, you know, spend time on it. Let's say 10 minutes. It's already more than enough, and you improve. If you do, like most people have not a lot of room at home, but they have the ability, you know, to rock some steps on the same spot. Well, do it, right? Start dancing. Start adding dance skills to you. Try to move like a b-boy, not necessarily like a ballet dancer, or like sometimes people dance like this. They're way too, you know, they dance too hard basically. That's not really the b-boy bay. B-boy is more like loose. So try to work on all these things. So also to sum it up, you do the basic steps that you already have, but you make sure you make use of the floor. You do it in all directions, right? And you make sure you're not always on the same spot, because it's very static that way. Even if you dance good, because you're always in the middle, it's so static. You don't need to, basically, right? Then you can also face different directions, and then finally try to do the same step in different ways and play with the arms. If you do all these things, basically, like people watch you and they're gonna say, okay, yeah, there's a lot of dance, man, like a lot of moves. In reality, you only use a few, right? And they can still play with just shimmying. Sometimes it's weird, but if you do just crazy shit, you'll dance better, right? Just going, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. But it's more fun than just the basics. Like if I see this, you know, there's nothing wrong with it, but it's so basic. And, you know, of course it's not wrong if you do one round like that. But if every round you do a cipher, you jump in 20 times, and every time it's right, and you jump in the floor. Okay, that's kind of whack, right? Try to variate in this. And that's all I have to say, guys. See you next time.